One Punch Man has gone through a wild time over the last few years. The rise of the Neo heroes, Garo's next step, various blast reveals, God setup, a Mai Mask being in the focus, King's training arc, and of course the ninja arc that went through redraw hell. But now we are moving on to more greatness as the story progresses more than it has in a long time. So here's a breakdown of all the major, or more importantly, canon story events and moments you may have forgotten about. A rematch between master and student. Genos once again is asking Saitama for a sparring match, something that he agrees on right away, and begins with the cyborg unleashing his first strike that seemingly blinds Saitama, but the cyborg stops at the last second. He is hesitant, that confuses Saitama, but wants to ask him something instead. If he's gotten just a little stronger, something his master can't really answer, but at least tries. This is due to, of course, Saitama being so many levels above him still, he can't really comprehend that low level of growth. However, based on their little exchange, Genos recognizes that his strength is no concern of the almighty bald man, revealing that since around the beginning of the One Punch Man manga, it's only been a little over 2 months in time, quite wild to think about, revealing to Saitama all the stuff occurring in regards to the Neo heroes, and continuing his hunt for the rampaging cyborg from his past, where Saitama brings up the possibility that he may have killed it at some point and may not even remember, likewise for most monsters he's killed in the last 2 months, highlighting Saitama's continued boredom, but Genos provides a strong emphasis that the cyborg is insanely strong, and yes, Saitama would manage and very easily defeat it, but for other S-Class heroes that wouldn't exactly be the case. So further foreshadowing and setup for the future of the story. Of course, people can go crazy with their theories, and the webcomic readers, yeah. Apart from that, we have King and Atomic Samurai run into each other, which brings me to one of my favourite moments of recent One Punch Man. The legendary apple cutting scene, which solidifies the One Punch Man manga as one of the greatest of all time. King is still the GOAT and always will remain as such, but this leads us into his mini training arc, or King's journey throughout the One Punch Man story, evolving to its new level. One of the most interesting parts outside of the key events in regards to the Neo heroes, God, and all the other things going on. Him actually going to Bang, asking to be strained, begging him to please make him stronger. A scene where we also get an update on what's going on with Garo, but in regular King fashion, they aren't taking it seriously. Everyone, apart from the likes of Saitama for an example, still views King as the strongest one around. So it's more so a respect type of thing, an age type of thing you could say. Plus it's like, oh yeah, you're stronger than me, I'm well aware of that, but even you want to continue growing in power. Which of course limits him, and King can't really be saved by these people weaker than him naturally. However, this is where he gets insight from someone who can truly help him. Saitama tells King to just lift. Once again, a peak One Punch Man moment of recent time. But outside of all the King events, we have Metal Bat going to visit the Neo heroes, something very important to keep note of. It seems as though Garo's role won't be important for quite some time, but this connects us to pretty much the beginning of the Ninja arc, something I'm planning to do an in-depth and canon review of later in the week. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe here on Mysterious Weeb for all the One Punch Man content that will be coming out every week. But a brief breakdown of the events that occurred throughout that arc. We had Flashy Flash arriving again, his battle with Saitama, some fun power scaling things provided within the story itself, which is great to see. We got the return of Sonic, and then fully providing the in-depth flashback of him and Flashy Flash alongside the Ninja Village. The arrival of Blast, more information about God. We got the Ninja leader revealed, more flashy Flash and Sonic stuff, whether it be flashbacks, them fighting one another or teaming up. Then the whole empty void situation, which was absolutely cooking before the redraws. Then it pretty much became a similar situation to what occurred in the original webcomic. I'll say that isn't my preferred outcome, but it is what it is. And I will say the canon version of this arc was not bad by any means, but wasn't the insane one that we were potentially going to get based on the other stuff that is now not canon to the One Punch Man story, but still solid throughout. With my most major issue boiling down to the amount of stuff taken away from Blast due to the redraws. He's one of the most interesting and of course important characters in the entire One Punch Man story, and yes, his involvement in the manga compared to the webcomic is 100 times more, but still, considering the manga is now over 200 chapters, we would kinda expect to have a lot more from him. At least that's what I want, and we're kinda getting that in the previous version of this arc, but it is what it is. But after Void was saved, one of the most important things to take note of moving forward is that Blast noticed that it's odd for Saitama that 2 times now he's been able to take the power of God out of people due to his fist, something that Blast has been unsuccessful of doing throughout all his years of fighting God, while Saitama has already done it twice. Pretty much 100% confirming that Saitama is going to be the one capable of defeating God, and no one else is really close, regardless of Blast being way above the other S-Class heroes seemingly as well. But now coming back to the Neo hero aspects of the story, we have their battle suits introduced as something to keep note of. We have this legend making his return. We got Metal Bat arriving to the Neo hero army. We have Darkshine getting introduced to another particular giant, and the introduction of many more heroes part of this group that will be important moving on. Some of their designs are quite wacky, but pretty similar to the webcomic version of the story as well. And then we have the big reveal many webcomic readers have been waiting for quite some time. The one introduced as the very person who laid the foundation for the Neo heroes. Surely he will become the symbol of the new era of heroes. He's the leader standing the top of our organization. His name is Blue, and yeah, he's the son of Blast. With the most recent One Punch Man chapter featuring Sweet Mask approaching Saitama saying, "You're just too strong," wanting to invite him to tea as he has something to consult with Saitama directly, which naturally they refuse. But we're going to see what happens there. We have a new One Punch Man chapter coming out in a few days with the potential beginning of the next arc. Something that if you're a webcomic reader, you're probably quite excited for. Likewise, so stay tuned for my video on that in a few days. And it's safe to say the One Punch Man manga is still absolute greatness, one of the best of all time. We're now over 200 chapters into this and it has not really missed in any regards. Yes, it's had its issues over the last few years due to redraws, but it seems as though we're back on track.